So you want to be more charismatic? Be careful what you wish for. People who are charismatic are usually quite popular. Many envy those who have charisma. But could it also be a double-edged sword? Charisma is a learned skill, so anyone has the capability of making it happen. But when it does, will you be ready for it? If you notice people who are charismatic, they're constantly surrounded by others. That's the nature of charisma. Many enjoy the attention. However, if people are always coming to you at work, for instance, how are you going to get your work done? Some people may think it's a good problem to have, but it can become a nuisance if it happens too much. People also spread the word about charismatic people. They'll tell their friends and colleagues what great people they are. Those friends and colleagues will also try to get some time in with the charismatic people. These new people will also end up telling their friend and colleagues as well. If you're charismatic, people are going to come to you for advice. They'll rely on any advice you give. That may be okay if you're an expert in the subject they asked about, but if you give the wrong advice and they take it, you could be helping them get into a situation that may not be good for them. While people are responsible for their own actions, it doesn't help when someone with charisma gives advice. The advice is likely going to be acted upon. The charismatic person sometimes revels in the title of advice giver, even if the advice isn't useful. Your home life may be affected by your increased charisma. You may find that more people are calling on you to join them in various activities, like joining the softball league or coaching kids' soccer games. These may all be activities you wanted to get involved with, but they will be ever-increasing opportunities. Those days of relaxing on Sundays are gone. For the most part, being charismatic is a good quality and one that most people would love to incorporate into their life. It may even put you into a leadership role along with a promotion. But be ready for the changes that happen and try to keep grounded in what it's going to mean for others, as well as the impact it may have on you and your family. Use storytelling to be more charismatic. Did you ever notice when someone's telling a story how others surround that person to hear the story? People love stories. It's in our blood. Ancient drawings from caves show our storytelling went back as far as about 40,000 years ago. Some people are better at telling stories than others. Have you ever been in a crowd of people and someone starts telling a story? Then another will interrupt and say, "Let John tell this story. He tells it so much better." The takeaway here is that if you learn how to become a good storyteller, you have the tools necessary to be more charismatic. At least you have one of the bigger aspects of charisma. How do you become a better storyteller or even start as one? It all has to do with setting the scene and the characters. Even if the characters are people you know, try to animate their actions or elevate their status. You want to try and avoid embarrassing people unless that's part of the story and is done in a respectful but playful way. If it's hurtful, you want to avoid it altogether. The more you involve the people who you're telling the story to, the better. If you can incorporate each person as part of the story, that'll go a lot further with them. You also want to employ the concept of show, don't tell as much as you possibly can. Try to describe the situation as vividly as possible, but avoid rambling. Some people have a natural ability to tell stories, but it's something that can be learned and practiced. There are plenty of books available on the subject, and you can even find courses or coaching for it. Start small by testing out your skills on friends and family. If they're engaged by the stories you tell, then you can move on to your colleagues. Telling stories can be a great way to engage people online as well. If you have a blog or you create videos on YouTube, try to incorporate stories into the mix. It'll captivate people much easier than simply creating fact-filled content that no one wants to see. Even if you need to incorporate facts, try to weave them into a story. It'll be much easier to get your point across than listing out tables filled with numbers. To do this, use story-based examples while interpreting the data. Not all charisma is good. When we hear the word charisma, we often think of leaders such as John F. Kennedy, Mahatma Gandhi, but charisma also has a dark side. Several dictators, including Adolf Hitler, seduced people using charisma. Even if you're not planning to overtake the world, charisma can often mask reasonable thinking. When someone's considered charismatic, they can usually get away with anything. They're perceived leaders, so if they ask you to do something, you're likely to do it even if it's not the right thing to do or isn't right for the situation. Negative charisma can be downright dangerous. Consider the situation with Jim Jones. He was a charismatic leader who led his group of followers to kill themselves by drinking cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. Leaders can often become addicted to power, and when the charisma wears off, they revert to force. According to the documentary on the Jim Jones story, several members wanted to get out, and he kept them there by force. So is it time to abolish charisma in any form? Of course not. Charisma can be good when it's moderated and not used for overt manipulation. People should try to recognize the limits of charisma and work within those limits. If someone's trying to get you to do something that doesn't seem right, it's okay to speak up and say why. Political leaders often rely on charisma to carry them through their terms, but this can backfire when the charisma wears off. People see the true colors of those leaders. This makes it difficult to manage the remaining term. It may make successive runs for office difficult as well. Steve Jobs is a great example of a person who was able to balance charisma without abusing it. He successfully brought Apple out of bankruptcy when he returned to manage it, and went on to make it the powerhouse it is today. Whether future leaders of the company can repeat this remains to be seen. As an example, do you even know the name of the current leader of Apple? This isn't to say Tim Cook doesn't have charisma, it's just he doesn't stand out the same way Jobs did. Charisma isn't going anywhere, and people who have it will be around for a while. But it's important for people to recognize when it gets out of hand and to use common sense above all else. Visualize your way to greater magnetism. Who doesn't want to have a more magnetic personality? You enter a room and everyone wants to hang out with you. When you're looking to date, people don't hesitate to say yes. When your company's looking to promote someone, you're at the forefront, and the list goes on. But most people believe magnetism isn't something that can be learned. It's a quality that someone's inherently born with. Nothing could be further from the truth. You can increase your magnetism and be more likable. And one of the best ways to start is to visualize yourself with qualities that you associate with magnetism. There are plenty of studies that show people can become more likable and in turn increase magnetism. You may need to re-engineer your thinking. Close your eyes and try to see what it would be like if you were able to become more magnetic with your personality. Would you be someone who smiles more often? Perhaps you take a genuine interest in others and always refer to them by name. What changes do you see in yourself when talking to people? Can you read the signals that people are giving you? After you have your visualization profile completed, the next step is to focus on others who you find have magnetic personalities. Match what you come up with in your profile to what you observe from those people. How close did you come? The next step is to find information through books, magazines, and seminars that are related to the subject of magnetism. What kinds of traits are suggested from those mediums? How closely do they match with what you've come up with in your visualization profile? After matching up as many of the resources described with what you've come up with in your profiles, and have taken notes of the differences, see if you can use this information to implement a course of action. This will become your roadmap to successfully increasing your personal magnetism. Don't try to make all the changes in one shot. Spread it out over the course of several months, but be consistent. And do put what you come up with into practice. You'll be amazed at the changes that occur over time and how people become more drawn to you. Who knows, you could even create your own book or seminar in the process and sell it for some decent income. Want to increase your personal magnetism? Pay attention to your body language. When you enter a room full of people that you don't know, and you see some people with their arms crossed, do you approach those people? How about people that look your way and smile? If you said no to the first question and yes to the second, it's because of a subconscious force at play: body language. Paying attention to your body language is a crucial aspect of increasing your personal magnetism. People inherently pick up on those signals without much of a thought. They don't say to themselves, "This guy has his arms crossed, so I'm not going to approach him." They simply move on. There are plenty of books, guides, and seminars that help us learn more about our own body language. But some of the basics have already been covered. Don't cross your arms if you want people to approach you, and make eye contact as often as possible, and be sure to smile. These are 3 of the major ways to improve your body language to make yourself more approachable. Another way to learn how to use body language to your advantage is to observe people who you're naturally drawn to. Pay attention to the kinds of movements they use as they speak to you. Are they crossing their arms, or are they using their hands to express themselves? Perhaps they give you the occasional touch on the shoulder when making a certain statement. Are they focusing their eyes on you and giving you their undivided attention? These are all traits of charismatic people and can be used to increase your magnetism. Take a look at how others are reacting when you speak. Are they distracted? Or are they hanging on your every word? If they're checking their smartphones every couple of minutes, you may have some work to do. If they ask you to repeat what you said often, this too is a sign that you should hone in on your body language skills. Start with small changes. Don't try to incorporate every change in body language all at once. It'll seem too contrived and won't be effective. Continue to observe others you find charismatic and try to incorporate the actions that they use when talking to people. If you're consistent with your changes, they'll become second nature over time, and people will definitely start being more drawn to you.